for an amendment?
I have an amendment. I believe it's at the desk.
Without objection, without objection, so ordered, the clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 49, offered by Mr. Cohen.
Gentleman, Mr. Cohen is recognized to speak on his amendment.
I guess I should move we don't read it, even though we didn't read it. But that's done by this amendment mirrors existing General Services Administration locational policy done under the authority of several executive orders. The policy is known as the Good Neighbor Policy. The amendment only would codify existing practice. The amendment is narrow in scope because it only applies to Federal projects in urban areas. Once again, this amendment applies only to urban areas. The committee and the GSA should be promoting the idea of inclusivity by design to help redevelop and revitalize our urban cores. Our cities have historically served as the centers for growth and commerce in this country and the place where people come together, diverse groups of people, and some of the only places they do come together in our society. And by encouraging the GSA to first consider space acquisition in centralized business areas with access to public transportation, it should not be considered anything but a good neighbor policy. This amendment gives local jurisdictions considerable influence with the location of Federal development in their communities, since local governments define the central business area. Additionally, the amendment directs GSA to give first consideration to the long-range economic goals of the community, ensuring that GSA at least considers aligning the Federal interests with local interests. Centralized business areas are designated by the local government and not by Federal agencies. My friends in the majority have repeatedly called for more local influence in government decisions. This amendment would give first consideration to designations made by local officials when the GSA is making a decision about where to construct a building or award a lease. The amendment only requires GSA to give first consideration to these principles, does not exclude any other considerations. The central business district is where the American dream exists. It's where people do come together for common purposes, whether it's government, whether it's business, whether it's retail, whether it's cultural. That's where people come together. And that's where the Federal Government should give first priority to putting buildings and helping those areas maintain their influence and their historical relationship to inclusivity by design. And by locating near transportation areas, it's important that we use public transportation and we preserve our resources in the most efficient way and help with public transportation. With that, I would move adoption of the amendment and hope it would be by voice vote.
Do any of the